Okay, I sped up the drawing so that I can show you in kind of a fast forward way how I would draw the 2D geometry. But you can draw the 2D geometry for this assignment 20 however you'd like to draw it. This is a metric drawing, so it's millimeters. You can see that the numbers are all bigger by 25.4. So if you took any of these numbers and divided it by 25.4, you'd know how many inches it is. So you see how I just followed the dimensions around to create that one, and then I tracked over to the other one. I could have tracked for that height. I probably should have. Yeah. But you can see how I'm tracking all of these different lines over because they're all pretty much the same view, using my midpoint object snap to draw that circle and trim that out, and then using tracking again to track up and over the amount. I got the width of the top view from the side view, and the depth of this top view would be that 47.6. That's the side view dimension. And then you can see that I did some offsets, draw some circles. I did use tracking to draw these two back lines because that represents this kind of circular cutout. And then I found the 9.5 from the side view at the bottom right corner to offset that back hidden line. That's that little piece down there. And the LT scale is 12. And now I'm using the circles to create the hidden lines. I'm tracking down there. And I changed the layer to center so that I could get my center lines in there. I know I'm jumping around. You may do this a little bit differently, but there I'm tracking over to draw those two hidden lines that represent the circles. You could use the miter method if you want, but you see how I used the center line option over there and annotate? For these, I use center line and center mark. So I use center line for the one in the side view and center mark for the circles. And, if you wanted to do an offset and change it to center, that'd be okay too over here on the side view. At this point, I did use fillet for the two corners. And you can see that I'm using center line for the one at the top, center line, and center mark for that one. I track over from the bottom of this circle over to the side view. This is where I'm setting up. I typed in D and enter, and I set my dimensions to 0.0. And then once I did that, I tried the 25.4, and that was too big. But you can see in the handout there that it's really 12, the dim scale. So you go to the Fit tab and change the overall scale to 12. All right, so now we've got all the dimensions, and I'm putting the text. The text height is 2.5. So we want to make sure we're on the dim text layer, and we go to annotate, and we click, and remember we have to click on height, and in here we have to type in 2.5, and then pull your mouse over and click so you can start the text. Now we've done this before. I'm just kind of walking through it while it's being recorded here. We underline the text, and that is our 2D geometry. Now what we want to do is switch over to the 3D space. So we want to go up and change our top view to southeast isometric, and we copy over this image. We take out the dimensions, and then we use those hidden lines, and we use press pull. You may have to go to the bottom right corner to click on that little gear icon, that little arrow next to the gear icon down there, to switch your ribbon over to 3D to 3D, and then 3D solid modeling, and then I made the current layer 0 so that I could use press pull and press pull up the height of this, which was 47.6. I changed it to conceptual here, and now I'm going to use 3D rotate. And these are some of the things that we've worked on before, so I'm kind of fast pacing the video so that you can practice the 3D rotate. I hold my shift key and my wheel of my mouse to orbit over around to the other side, and then I'm going to draw the bigger circle here on that face using the midpoint object snap, and then use press pull to kind of grab that and take it out. Erase the 2D geometry, and now I'm going to draw those 9.5 lines on that top face. I tracked over 9.5, but if you're uncomfortable with that and want to draw a line 9.5, you can, and then 9.5 up, and you've got a little line there on that side. And then over here I track over 9.5, then I draw a line up into that surface 9.5. Now I've got my two centers for my circles, and those are those smaller circles. Watch out for that one being a diameter. So here's a center diameter. I go to the end of that line and I draw my circles. Then using press pull, I can take those out and try to erase those little lines there. Sometimes I have to go back to wireframe to erase those, but this time I was able to click on those and pick erase. All right. So at this point we're using fillet. We can start the fillet command, click the edge, type in 9.5 fillet, and then press enter twice. So click on the edge, start the fillet command, click on the edge, type in 9.5 and press enter twice. You can then delete all the geometry there and start to work with your layouts by creating a layer called viewports. So we're creating a brand new layer called viewports, and we're going to make it a no plot layer. We also changed the color just to make sure we're on track with that and nothing else is brown or whatever color you decide. Set it current, and then you can click on layout 1 to actually, I could use that viewport, but I went ahead and deleted it so that we're in the paper. We're going up to layout, and we're going to do the same thing we did last time, that polygonal viewport. We're going to create this irregular shaped viewport. This gets a little tricky because you're creating a hole in the paper. So now when you double click inside the hole, you're going to change the view to top and make sure you change it back to 2D wireframe. That way, you know, you can mess around with trying to get it to be right in place. I tested different scales, but none of the scales actually, you know, worked for me. You can see that I'm testing all those scales, but I ended up, because if you use the wheel of your mouse, it goes very quickly from one view to another. So I started to kind of crop the viewport, because you can, if you double click out into the paper, you can be in the paper, then get a hold of those grips and kind of stretch it out as much as you can. But I also wanted to show you, I went back into the viewport, double click inside the viewport, and you can see those navigation tools. You see that one? I used Zoom Real Time. Zoom Real Time, you hold your left mouse button down and you drag your mouse. You see how it's a little smoother, where you can really get the zoom right where you want it. The wheel of the mouse doesn't do it like that. You can escape out of that, and now double click outside of the paper, the viewport, so that you're in the paper. This is where I put my pointer on the layout tab, right click and pick page setup manager, and then I pick modify, and this is just so I can come over here, change this to monochrome CTB, and put a check mark in display plot styles. I also changed my paper to the ACAD PDF, high quality PDF that we were using. And you can go back to kind of stretch out the viewports if you need to. What I did here was I realized that the name of the assignment was gone. It's like at the bottom. So sometimes you have to go back to model and go back to the top view and kind of move things around. I could have put that text right on the paper, but I decided to bring it over into view so that I could see it through my my whole, that viewport. Then I created another viewport that's rectangular for the 3D version of it. I actually went back into the other one so that I could move the text around and kind of stretch that over. You see I'm stretching the viewport to give myself a little more room. Here I'm changing to, I think I use Southwest. Yeah, Southwest isometric and also conceptual view. And there it is. That's the 3D view that we need. You won't have to dimension the 3D view. I just wanted to add that as a reference, the one that's in the handout there. Work on your portfolio. So when you create your portfolio, you're going to need to kind of work, make sure that that's good. And I think that's it. I think at this point I previewed it again because I was moving my title around and kind of, I think, cleaning up a few things, and then you plot it and you're ready for your portfolio. This is the one that you would create then. There is one more thing that's important. You have to double click inside that viewport and type in PSLT scale and enter, and then 0 and enter. And then type in regen, REGEN, and enter, because we didn't see our hidden lines before. So that is like a Paperspace LT scale that needs to be adjusted so that you can see your hidden lines here in the paper. All right, so now that we're working on this, we are starting to get a little bit better at working with these and moving forward.